so we're going to run a wire from here, and we're going to put another outlet down the way there. So we're going to get our MC cable cut here. Here in the country I was born in, we use a 12 American wire gauge on 20 amps for your commercial wiring. I enjoy helping the landlord here. He has some very nice properties. He has a very good reputation around town for maintaining his buildings and taking care of his tenants. So I enjoy helping him out with doing the electrical wiring. So we'll get our cable ready to cut and ready to stick another outlet in here. We have a shop that's going to be moving in here. So I gotta move this little thing down like that. See how it's pointing down like that? Tighten our and we'll just turn like this until we hear it, feel it moving freely. There, now it's just moving freely. That means it's cut through. And we can just take this off. And this will just come off like that. And now we'll go shut our breaker off and we'll get ready to hook into this box here. It's nice to see the outlets are made here in the country I was born in. That's a nice thing to see. Come off this green wire here and we'll open up our knockout. It is a wonderful joy to forget things. You just have to learn to enjoy forgetting things. We'll stick our clamp in here. Make sure it's up here nice and tight. Okay, so we'll stick our anti-short bushing in here so we don't short out our wires. And we'll clip back our sharp edge here that we put our bushing in like this. And we'll push it down in nice and flat like this here. And we can take some electrical tape and we'll tape it in place. Now this little bit of taping here is not required, but I like to do it just to make sure our bushing stays in the cable where we want it, so that our wires don't get punctured. Cut our plastic off here. Okay, so we'll push it in, make sure our connector is in there all the way. And we'll just snug it down. And now we can start screwing in our straps. Box in, and we'll cut it off. We'll cut it about right here. There we go. Another screw here. And make sure we get it centered here so it looks nice and neat. Okay, so now we'll take our cutter again here and we'll cut this end. And we have just turn it until, see, it just starts turning freely there, so just loosen our little nut up here. Again, we'll cut off our sharp edge here so we don't damage our wire there. We'll put our anti-short bushing in. Make sure it's down nice and flat here. And we'll just tape it into place here so that okay, so we'll open up our knockout. Make sure it's nice and tight. And make sure our cable is in the box all the way, and we'll tighten our screw up. Okay, so we have to put our bonding screw in here to bond our box, ground wire. Okay, so we got to get our ground wire up to our green screw here. So we'll make a score here, and I'll make a score up here. And I'll just come down between our two scores here, like that. We'll bring our ground wire up, bring around our ground screw here. Close it the direction our screw turns here, like that. Okay, so we have our ground screw bonded to our box. We'll cut this shorter and we'll cut this in half here. And we'll use a Wago here to connect our grounds together. Okay, I want to make sure my wires are perfectly straight before I put them in there so that it makes a nice connection. So I'll just check them here with our Wago, make sure they're the right length. So we get our insulation up into the yellow and our copper comes up to the top. This is a ground wire, so it's not as critical, but still I'm doing it this way to show you how you use these. So we'll put our copper, put it in, feel a little barb, push it, our copper comes up to the top here. And these two will go to our outlet. And I see the copper at the top. Okay, so I see all of our copper up at the, okay, there's all of our copper is up at the top here and our insulation's in the bottom here. So we can push this back in out of our way here. So this is our ground wires. And we'll strip them. We'll put them around the green screw on our outlets. And now we'll hook our outlets up. We'll go loop, 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 and we'll hook them up like that. So we'll score with our number 12 pole. We'll come down here. We'll do the same thing on our white wire here. Come down here. Okay, now we can put our mud ring on here. Make sure it's on nice and tight. One, two. So now we'll score our wires to our outlet here. I'll take a little more off the black wire here. Now let's pull this piece off, break it out of there so we have it, and I'll strip our other end here. I take off about 1 inch. I'll make sure I don't get any insulation caught under our terminal, so we'll just break it off here. There we go. Okay, so we'll Close the screws we're not going to be using. Okay, so here in the country I was born in, black is live, or red or blue will be live. It goes on the brass screw, which is the narrow slot. White is neutral. Goes on the silver screw, which is the wider slot. And most generally, it's on the same side as the green screw. And the green wire goes on the green screw. So we'll hook this up. Our first one here. We'll make our loop. Direction here. Screw turns. Make sure it's nice and tight. Put our ground wire around our green screw here. Make sure it's nice and tight. That one I have to use the flathead on. There we go. We'll flip it around now. We'll get our black on the brass colored screw here. I'll flip it this way so it's not all twisted. Get our wire folded so our insulation is even on the side here. Whoops, I'm going to bring the loop up this way a little bit more. So we don't have too much copper behind our screw here. Make sure it's nice and tight. That one hops a little bit like a bunny, so I'm going to tighten it with my flathead. And I'll just check our white and our ground again here. Okay, it's tight. So now we can put this outlet into our box here. I'll make sure our screws aren't going to hit the wires here. Finish it by hand so we don't strip our holes out. Okay, so we'll make sure our wires are good to go here. So now we'll get this outlet ready to hook up here. We'll close the screws we're not going to be using. You want them out of the way so that you don't want them to touch the side of the box or anything you don't want it to touch. sure it's nice and tight. I'll have to use the flathead. Close the loop the direction your screw turns. Make sure it's nice and tight. Now we'll flip it over and we'll get our black on the brass colored screw here. Make sure it's nice and tight. Now we can screw this into our box. Okay, so we'll fold our wires back into our box, down, and we'll come up with our black and our white. Just keep this ground wire down towards the bottom here, and we'll just put it into our box. And make sure our screws clear all the wires here. And we'll finish it by hand so we don't strip our holes out. Get it centered here, so when we put the cover on, it lines up evenly. Let's make sure our screws aren't hitting the wires. That one's not hitting. And that one's not hitting. Okay, so we're going to use a different Wago connector here. So we'll just, we can do our cut here, or we can do it here. We'll do it right here. So we'll get our ground wire straightened out here. Take off about a ½ inch. Take off about a ½ inch here. So we'll push our Wagos on, make sure our copper comes up to the top. See, our copper comes up to the top and we get our insulation into the orange part here. There we go. So there's our ground wires hooked up. So we're going to unscrew this one here. Make sure it's off with our tester here. It's off. Just let it fall. Okay, so we'll push this all back into our box here. Open this one up. Make sure it's tight. So now we'll just hook our black and white up to the outlet. Okay, so we'll hook our white wire over here on our silver colored screw and make our loop the direction our screw turns. Close our loop the direction our screw turns here. Make sure it's nice and tight. So it looks like that there. Now we'll put our black onto our brass colored screw here. Close our loop the direction our screw turns. Make sure our insulation doesn't get pinched under our screw head here. Make sure it's nice and tight and our insulation's not pinched under our screw head, and our connection looks like that here. We can push our wires into the box. We don't want our wires to get pushed against any sharp edges, so we'll make a bend here so it goes down. Push it over so it doesn't hit our connector parts there. Okay, so we screw this in. Look at that. I don't see it. Looks like our screws are going to hit any of the wires. Tighten that by hand. we don't strip our holes out. Okay, we'll go grab our flashlight and take a look. Downs not hitting, downs not hitting, downs not hitting, downs not hitting anything, and our wires aren't pushing against any sharp edges. Okay, we'll go over and flip our breaker on. It's a single pole 20. We'll just turn it on here. Okay, so we will take our tester here. We'll just double check all of our outlets, make sure they're all working. This one's working, both orange lights are lit, it's hooked up properly. Both orange lights are lit, it's hooked up properly. And down here we'll do the same thing. Both orange lights are lit, it's hooked up properly, so I'll bring the camera down close and show you what that looks like. Here's our two orange lights saying it's hooked up properly. And there's the diagram telling you how the tester works. Alrighty, so that is how to do commercial wiring here in the country I was born in. Peace. Thanks for watching.